There are a lot of milestones behind and ahead on this journey, but this one is particularly sweet and long awaited. If you watched the live stream from last week already, you've already seen the final plank get fastened to Arabella's now complete hull. This week's episode is a look at the work leading up to screwing in that whiskey plank and the cedar plank above it. Like the locust shear strake that was fastened in last week's episode, this cedar plank carries the signatures and well wishes of folks from all over the world. Thanks to everyone that made a contribution to the project to have their name permanently installed onto Arabella. And maybe some boat restorer in the next century will get to see what made this boat possible.
Working on the second to last plank was extremely relieving because it was in cedar instead of the black locust shear plank. It was a cool plank to work on because of all the signatures that people put on, and so it was like adding life to the boat.
Getting a 40-foot long plank to fit perfectly into the rabbets at both ends is trickier than it may seem. You can't just take a measurement for the length, because any backing out or dubbing to get it to sit flat against the frames changes the overall length in fractions of inches that end up really mattering. So the only way to get it right is to just slowly sneak up on it, taking smaller and smaller amounts off. Determining the widths of the last two planks at each frame is different and can be measured pretty accurately.
For the second to last plank, we established the size of it by measuring the existing gap we had and dividing it in two. And so that established what our second to last plank would be, and then we took the rough dimensions for the whiskey plank too. We fastened the whole entire second to last plank with 2 1/4 inch screws because the clamp and shelf are in the way, so we couldn't rivet up in there, but it went in really well. Okay.
All right.
1, 2, 3, shoot! Ah! All right, all you.
And then there was one down to the whiskey. So we can go from 3 sawn frames. We'll cut it out of cardboard first and then we'll transfer it to the...
Cool. Do you want me to hold it in your trays?
Yeah.
The stern end of Arabella has quite a bit of shape to it, and all of the planks need to be steamed first before wrapping around this big curve. Because of this, Steve and KP made a pattern for this end of the whiskey plank so they could make minimal adjustments before fastening into the stern rabbet and frames.
Looks like a shape. Let's cut it out. That'll work. Yes.
Four and 5/16 for the last time.
To finalize the shape of the plank before cutting it out, Madison and Steve went down the plank transcribing the measurements taken at each frame on the boat, and then drew the curve by springing a batten along those points.
3 and 15/16. 3 and an 8th. And even 3. Past the last line, right? Yeah. Is that enough? Close enough?
No, I gotta come right up to it.
Yeah, okay.
Alright, so Madison, you can go as far towards that staging as you can reasonably pull it. Yep, that's good. Okay, towards me.
Yep.
Okay, this needs to go down.
Okay.
maps a little bit. Right there.
Nice. Yeah, if you want to screw those in, there's I start with that and then use big brace, but do what is easiest for you. Stern's in.
No, you should just scale it. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I gotta take like an eighth off that.
It's cedar though, it's just a few swipes of the plane, it's not much.
Nice, I felt that go in.
Yeah, I watched it go in.
Beauty, I bet you did. I can't see, I can just feel. Back out just a hair.
The day of the whiskey plank went well. We just screw fastened it temporarily because riveting is really loud and takes a tremendously long time. And we had people here, so we felt that just temporarily fastening them, getting everything fit and on, and then coming back and popping them out and putting in rivets was the way to go. It's always kind of crazy working with a camera there. It's even crazier working with a few thousand people watching live and a whole bunch of people in person. So just kind of tried to tune that out as much as possible and focus on putting the plank in. I was really thankful to have, the crew there, KP inside the boat, figuring out what things looked like in there and what we needed to do, and having Joe, the machinist, and my friend Tim here to be on the staging and help working the plank in, and having Ann doing the live. It really is a team effort. It's really challenging to put one of these in by yourself.
your birthday on Tuesday? KP?
Oh, for crying out.
So I decided that this is a perfectly fine time to celebrate with cake because everybody likes dessert, right? Yeah, right. Okay, so happy birthday.
23.
Who's next? Oh, not for you, Radar. Woo!
It feels really good to be done with planking, but the whiskey plank, I know it's traditionally a big deal, but for me it feels rather anticlimactic, to be honest. Last summer we really got into the groove and we're plowing through the planking, and then we got to the point where we just had the 3 and the staging was in the way. So it kind of felt very much like a formality, and I've had my brain focus so much lately on the deck that it's just kind of right now checking one of those boxes and keep going. So I think we can hold the congratulations until this thing actually splashes.
Okay, I'll take it. Ooh, there's a really cool cobweb right there.
You ever put in a whiskey plank before?
I have put in a whiskey plank before, but not this long. A long whiskey plank in some ways is more challenging than a short one, just because the sheer amount of material. So you have curves and twists, and then it flattens, and there's just more shape in it. And so you might have more variation, and a short one is just short, so you cut less. I think traditionally the whiskey plank is a symbolic big deal. It's a big milestone to reach. And it's on to the next thing. So it seemed like for the people watching us, the people following us, like we finally, they finally did it. So it was like a moment to celebrate. And we are also like, all right, let's go. Let's put the covering boards on. Quick, quick, quick. But it was a great day. The thunderstorms were dramatic, so it added some drama to what I thought otherwise was kind of a slow process to watch. Glad you came out and watched. Everybody, thank you. It's a beautiful day.
I love a good ceremony. Whiskey plank, why is it called that? Is one of the biggest questions that I got during the live event. And why it's a big deal, why it's a big deal to me, is because it marks the completion of the hull. A lot of us know that a whiskey plank celebration is really honestly coming a little early because there's so much work left to do on the boat. And it really did feel like a party on the live. I hope that everybody got to see that. And if you haven't, it's available on YouTube. And the whiskey plank is essentially a celebration plank, and that's what whiskey's about. That's why we call it a whiskey plank. But there are people at home drinking tea and fizzy water and whatever they drink wherever they're from. So we appreciate you, and it was so nice to be able to have a celebration and mark this.